Kanan is a demoness who crawled out of hell and into the human world with one goal: feed on souls. What she didn't see coming was a total pervert completely hijacking her heart. One day, Kanan slipped into a school, Who Knew Academy, in the city of Tama, a place packed with peaceful students, their little souls ripe and well-seasoned. Exactly what she was looking for. Yuji stumbles in out of nowhere, dazed and still shaking from the spell that just broke over his eyes. He has absolutely no idea how he ended up here, looks around, and sees a literal dream standing right in front of him. Kanan steps forward and tells him he's the one who called her, with his own soul. With a sultry gaze, she explains she's here to devour him. She lets her true form bleed through, a dark demonic aura wrapping around her body, and introduces herself as the daughter of Beelzebub, the archdemon of gluttony. Then, in that sinister, silky voice, she tells Yuji to stop stalling and let her get a taste. And this guy bows and thanks her from the bottom of his heart. He is thrilled. Is Yuji seriously about to live out his dream of getting devoured by a girl in a devil costume? Kanan catches on to exactly what this absolute disaster of a human is thinking, and reminds herself that high school boys have one brain cell, and it's always in the gutter. She tries to assert dominance, calls him an idiot for even going there, but then she stops, thinks, waits. Actually, the moment right before devouring someone is the perfect time to steal a human soul. The only problem is that Kanan has zero experience with any of that. But before we go further, let's rewind a few months. Back in Kanan's home, she approaches a throne absolutely buried under mountains of food and says she has a request. Her father greets her with open arms, already inviting her to grab a snack. Kanan takes the opening to tell him that nothing has tasted like anything lately. Beelzebub gets worried on the spot. A dad who's literally the demon of gluttony can't exactly stay calm when his daughter has no appetite. Kanan pitches the solution, a place absolutely full of delicious things. What kind of things? Human souls, obviously. The big guy remembers trying something similar back in the day, but it ended in a brutal blowout with the angels. Kanan talks him down, says she'll do it differently, that it'll work out. And of course, Beelzebub can't say no to his daughter. But right before she leaves, he asks her something with real weight behind it. Kanan-chan, have you been eating with anyone lately? She smiles and says that good meals are private affairs. Back in the present, the human world has a new resident, Kanan, the gourmet demoness, gorgeous, magnetic, razor-sharp, talented, and built like a varsity athlete. She won over literally everyone at school, students, teachers, the whole faculty, and became the picture of perfection. Crushed it so hard she got elected president of the disciplinary committee. Kanan looks out at the academy like it's a ranch, and the students are her herd. Hungry, she starts hunting, searching for a soul with that extra kick, and then, whoa. That one right there has a color and a shine like nothing she's ever seen. That's definitely the one. Like a spell, Kanan's voice wraps around that soul, calling the human to come to her. Picking back up where Kanan was about to devour Yuji, the demoness starts breaking down exactly what she's going to do to him. First, peel away the outer layer, then work it with her fingers until it's firm and juicy. She delivers all of this with that dark, devastating stare. And finally, she tells him she's going to taste him herself, with her own mouth. Yuji, who is already pulling off his shirt, desperately begs Kanan to satisfy him. Kanan tries to pump the brakes on this unhinged individual, telling him this kind of thing is only done between people who really care about each other. Yuji absolutely torches her argument, says that's not a problem at all because he fell for her the second he saw her. And then, all innocent-faced, he asks, "Is that why you called me, Kanan? Because you're in love with me?" Kanan sits with that. She's never fallen for anyone before. She starts looking Yuji up and down, actually taking in the guy's whole situation, and realizes he's exactly her type. "I love you, I love you, I love you," Yuji repeats, charging toward her. Kanan feels completely cornered by the sheer chaos of this person. 1,000 thoughts racing. Would it even be okay for the daughter of Beelzebub to catch feelings for some basic human? Then out of nowhere, Yuji pulls back, gets dressed again, and admits he was pushing way too hard. To ease the tension, he asks for just one thing, for Kanan to melt a popsicle with her mouth. The demoness, absolutely horrified by the level of degeneracy in front of her, shuts that down instantly. So the guy makes a different ask, a much simpler one. He asks her out. Kanan, a little flustered, says yes. Yuji completely loses it with excitement, fixes himself up real quick and heads out. Kanan stands there staring into the void thinking, what in the actual hell kind of contract did I just sign? In class, Masaru brings up a shrine cleanup happening over the weekend and asks Yuji if he's coming. He says he'll probably be busy. Sorry, Masaru. That name sets her off immediately. She can't stand being called that. She goes by Nadeko. She snaps that Yuji was wide open all year and now suddenly has plans. Doing what? The guy says it plain and simple. I have a girlfriend now. Oh, that explains it. Nadeko sits back down. 2 seconds later, wait, what? Yuji got a girlfriend? She's completely blindsided. Never in a million years did she think this goofy nerd would pull that off. She asks if they at least call each other by their first names. Yuji reacts like she just asked him the most important question in the universe. Kanan is at the academy window, eyeing her next meal like a chef surveying the kitchen. Then Yuji materializes out of thin air, scared her half to death. Kanan yelps and hits the floor, demanding to know if he can please stop appearing out of nowhere like that. Senpai, please call me by my first name. Kanan's confused at first, but gets it. He wants that intimacy. The demoness gets a little flustered dealing with this guy's nerve, but then it clicks. This is the perfect power move. The shy look sharpens into something commanding. Yuji is vibrating with anticipation. Kanan almost finds it cute, watching him squirm like that. She plays it up like it's a huge moment. Yo, nothing. She was too embarrassed to get it out. She mentally rehearses it, tries again. Same result. The words just die in her throat. Yuji picks up on exactly what's happening, which only makes Kanan more flustered. So she flips it, tells him to say her name since he's the one who started this. Kanan. That was enough to shatter her internally. She turns into an absolute mess. In her head, this perverted human wanted the thrill of saying her name out loud. Yuji says it again, and it's like she breaks all over again every single time she hears it. Then he leans in close to her ear and whispers it softly. Kanan is done. If this keeps up, she's going to completely fall for her own prey. Yuji goes to whisper it again, and catches the most devastating slap she's ever thrown. The kind of slap a mom delivers after checking her kid's search history. Kanan gets up to leave, but right before she goes, she finally says his name. Yuji short-circuits entirely. He shouts her name back, and Kanan face plants onto the floor. Walking down the stairs, still not fully recovered, Kanan spots a couple in the hallway and tells them to break it up. Dating on school grounds is against the rules, and she is the disciplinary committee president. She glances around and starts thinking about how wild high school students are. No self-control, no filter, their minds in the gutter around the clock. With a savoring expression, she appreciates every little soul just waiting to be consumed by her. Yuji pops up behind her again. Another jump scare. Kanan asks what he wants. He says that since they're a couple, they should spend as much time together as possible. The words leave Kanan completely off balance, but then his next question hits like a truck. Yuji wanted to know where they'd have their first time. Kanan is horrified. This shameless creature couldn't even be bothered to suggest dinner first. She pulls herself together and, with full authority, asks him where he thinks it should be. His answer: the park, out in the open. The demoness calls him a freak and shuts it down immediately. Second suggestion: the movie theater? She calls him an idiot. She'd already made it crystal clear that anywhere public was absolutely humiliating. So Kanan starts laying into him that something like this needs to happen in a room, with privacy. Then she stops, realizes what she just said, has a full internal meltdown. Yuji offers his room. Kanan, embarrassed that she let her imagination run that far, composes herself and says a date is fine, but she's only going to his room if his parents are home. Back at the window, looking down at the courtyard, Yuji shows up and asks if they can walk home together. Kanan, panicking, asks why on earth she would do that. Because we're dating, he says. That answer hits her like a dart. She goes beet red, thinks it over, and agrees, fully pretending she's the one calling the shots. Walking home, Kanan keeps falling behind, her heart going haywire just from being near Yuji. He asks why she won't walk beside him. She makes up the most unhinged excuse, that she could be the target of a random attack at any moment. Before she can spiral further, Yuji pulls her in close, and the demoness becomes a complete disaster. Trying to help, he reaches out for her hand so they can walk together. Kanan has an immediate meltdown. If they hold hands, she might end up pregnant. This guy has to be some kind of demon running an evil scheme, but if she refuses, he'll think she's scared. All of this is running through her head at 1,000 miles per hour. Kanan finds a solution: put Yuji on a leash. In this completely absurd moment, she feels like a girl out on a walk with her little dog and asks him how he's doing. He answers, totally happy that he's in paradise, that he loves being her little puppy. The demoness is absolutely floored. That is not what she was going for. So annoying. Stomping ahead in frustration, Kanan grumbles to herself about all this nonsense. That exhausting human wrecks every single plan she makes. Yuji calls out to her. She thinks it's in her head and keeps walking. Then she looks back and realizes she'd been dragging the poor guy along the ground the whole time. He says, all pumped up, that he's never had a walk like that before, and that he actually liked being a little pet. Kanan shouts that it was an accident. This was not pet play. The two of them at the park. Yuji says there's something he's always wanted to do there, with her. Kanan flashes back to what he said earlier and starts spiraling. Nope. He just wanted to eat a croquette. During the conversation, Kanan asks for a little sauce for hers. Yuji refuses, dead serious, saying the flavor of a croquette doesn't need any help. The demoness is thrown off, a guy this unhinged being this passionate about a croquette. But honestly, she kind of finds it adorable. She takes a bite and is genuinely surprised by how good it is. So is Yuji. And then he says something that actually makes her stop and think, "It tastes so much better because I'm eating it with you, Kanan." Down in hell, Kanan's dad is wondering how his daughter is holding up in the human world. That's when Ami, Kanan's maid and caretaker, shows up right in front of Beelzebub, surrounded by that ridiculous mountain of food, getting begged to do something about her mistress's situation. Meanwhile, Kanan kicks off her day bright and early. To pull off the whole normal human act, she planted herself inside a totally average human family. At breakfast, she cheerfully hits them with a good morning. The parents, the little brother, the whole crew. This is the family she's using as cover to blend into the human world. How'd she pull that off? Simple, dude. She put a spell on all of them, making them believe they've always had an older daughter. Kanan is about to head out to tend to her soul farm when she says goodbye to her fake family, where she's been playing the role of the perfect daughter. Then the dad snaps back to reality. Wait, when did they have a daughter? The mom too. When exactly did she give birth? And the little brother, completely lost. Who the heck is this girl calling him her little bro? Thing is, Kanan has to refresh the brainwashing every now and then, you know? And just like that, she heads out for another day managing her flock. Outside, Kanan's walking alone, staring up at the sky, straight up talking to herself, completely satisfied, dreaming up fun new ways to mess with human beings. Inferior creatures. What are humans to her? Nothing more than food. While she was filming that imaginary documentary in her head, some guy pops out of nowhere asking what the heck Kanan was doing talking to herself out in the open. It was Yuji. Kanan demands to know why he was even there. Isn't it obvious? Yuji is Kanan's boyfriend, but that's beside the point. The real question is, how did he know where her disguised hideout was? Their teacher told Yuji where she lived. Like, she just leaked Kanan's personal info without a second thought. Yuji's about to invite her to walk to school together, but Kanan beats him to it. She'll go with him if he can catch her. And she bolts. Walking next to Yuji would be so embarrassing, man. Too bad. Kanan is a demon, but her physical stats compared to a human's are absolute garbage. Yuji strolls up beside her cool as a cucumber, while Kanan is completely wrecked, gasping for air, with that horrific stamina of hers. To save face, she pulls out a classic excuse. A truly great woman, even a superior one, must walk 3 steps behind her partner. She says it all sophisticated-like, but Yuji keeps a straight face and says that's actually very wifely of her. Wife? Kanan pretends she already knew that. She looks away to hide the absolute disgust written all over her face. Dang it. Yuji offers her some water since Kanan looked completely wiped out, but he asks her to leave a little in the bottle because he wanted some too. Kanan stops to think. Hold on, did Yuji just want an indirect kiss through the bottle? She looks at him, looks at the bottle, totally flustered. But no way. She chugs the whole thing in one go, crushes the bottle, and tosses it in the trash. Not happening. At school, Kanan and Yuji end up walking together anyway, even though she wanted distance. Then someone calls out to her. Boing boing. It was Ami. Without a second thought, Kanan drags Ami in a full panic into an empty classroom. What are you doing here, you useless maid? Oh, what a question, right? Ami was there to keep Kanan company. Kanan shoves her aside, saying that's a load of nonsense. Yuji shows up right there asking who this was. Kanan gives in and answers. That was Ami, her live-in maid, who had also been taking care of her since she was little. Of course, Ami charmed her way past Beelzebub with all that charisma of hers. But honestly, the relationship between Ami and Kanan went way deeper than that, because they were childhood friends. Kanan absolutely did not want Yuji meeting Ami. Why? Because Ami is a shameless, thirsty succubus. Obviously, Yuji would fall head over heels the second he got a chance. Kanan immediately warns him to stay as far away from Ami as possible. She was a dangerous maid. Ami, already intrigued, asks Kanan to introduce them, but things get intense when she spots Yuji's soul. So radiant, Ami lunges at Yuji, completely drooling, but Kanan yanks her back instantly. That one's taken. Ami asks why. Kanan answers, dead serious. Because Yuji is my boyfriend. Ami goes absolutely wild over that answer. Kanan is beat red. The lonely queen finally got a boyfriend? This is huge news. Ami starts poking at Kanan with a million questions. How far have you two gone? Did you go all the way? Tell me everything. Kanan answers with stars in her eyes. They walk together around the neighborhood and also shared croquettes at the park. Ami is crushed. A middle schooler's romance? Ami tries to give her a little push. Kanan's been around for thousands of years. What's she stalling for? Just let him put his hands on her commission. And she keeps going. If Kanan keeps dragging her feet, she'll swoop in and steal the prize. Yuji shuts Ami down, saying his girlfriend was Kanan, the loyalty bro. Kanan tells him to get over himself, but he was just stating facts. Ami says that's fine. She doesn't mind sharing. and asks Yuji to add her as his girlfriend too. Kanan freaks out. Ami can't do that. Ami keeps messing with her, throwing herself at Yuji, who then asks Kanan, "Am I turning into a total catch?" Which only makes Kanan even more furious. "You miserable little creature." Then Kanan notices a bunch of students collapsed all over the hallway, all looking like blissed out corpses, and that trail led straight to the study room. Kanan is already suspicious of Ami and rushes over. She throws open the door and Ami was getting it in with the teacher? Kanan walks out crying from the sheer embarrassment of catching Ami like that. What the heck is going on out in the hallway? "Oh, humans?" Ami answers like it's the dumbest question she's ever heard. But Kanan goes off, furious. That soul flock was hers. She raised them, looked after their well-being, kept them healthy, and she's completely beside herself that Ami got there first. Come on, she didn't even sample them. Ami says Kanan is way too slow. Kanan claps back that at least she has standards. Ami denies it. "I have standards." Kanan, about to explode, asks, "Why'd you go after the old guy? He's adorable. And that girl? Such a cutie. And the chubby one? So squishy and lovable. And the delinquent? He makes my heart skip." Kanan is seething. Ami really does go for literally anyone. But to Ami, they're all charming. The old man helped her out, the girl offered her delicious little cookies, the chubby guy was just so fun to squeeze, and the delinquent brought her some super emotional shoujo manga. Humans are just so wonderful. Kanan picks up on something genuinely good about Ami. She can see the best in people. Better yet, she only sees the best. Ami has always been popular, and now Kanan gets why. It even stings a little with envy. But even so, Ami is still guilty for that pile of knocked out students scattered all over the school. Kanan apologizes to Ami for not understanding her sooner, but she couldn't go messing with those students anymore. Wiping memories is a whole ordeal. So Kanan takes the opportunity to ask one thing. "Does Yuji seem attractive to you?" She gives this little puppy dog face waiting for the answer. Ami says she's not going to feed into Kanan's silly little jealousy. Kanan immediately denies it. She is not jealous. Yeah, right. Kanan starts pacing back and forth, all worked up over Yuji. She was scared he'd end up in Ami's clutches. Just the thought of it was pure torture. Then an idea hits her. Have Yuji work alongside her, supervising the students together. If he's by Kanan's side, there's no reason to worry about Ami, right? Kanan thinks Yuji is way too full of himself for such an inferior little being and completely spirals. Yuji feels a cold shiver run down his spine. It was just Kanan appearing behind him with a total demon face. Then a girl carrying a stack of papers walks by in the hallway and ends up dropping everything. Yuji goes to help the poor girl up, but when she looks at him, she's completely swept away. What a crush. The girl tries to ask Yuji for help, but Kanan cuts in immediately. Right now, he's not available. "Yuji, are you this popular with girls all the time? Jealous?" he asks. "I'm not jealous. Don't get the wrong idea." This is Ami pulling the strings behind the scenes, playing dirty. Another student comes running, late, and crashes into Yuji. Looks up at him and, "Oh wow, he's so cute." Kanan yells at them to keep moving. Another girl tumbles down the stairs. Yuji catches her in his arms and she immediately asks for his name. Kanan yells again. Then another student is flagged down by Yuji. He tells her she's got a piece of Naruto on her head. It's a hair clip, genius. But the girl thinks it's the most charming thing ever. What an interesting guy. Kanan loses it one more time. Are you living inside a rom-com right now? What is even happening? Girl after girl after girl. Does Kanan have to remind Yuji what he is to her? Boyfriend, he answers. Kanan is overwhelmed hearing Yuji say that so easily. Then Yuji gets text from Masurao. Kanan asks who that was. A childhood friend of his. Kanan reads the messages and every single word sends her into a new spiral. Yuji lights up reading Masurao's texts. Kanan is angry and heartbroken at the same time. This Masurao had no business acting like Yuji belonged to her. You miserable little creature. Leaving school, Kanan walks with her back to Yuji. He asks if she's mad. Kanan says no, but she immediately spins around and starts rubbing her head against him. "We have a thing, don't we? You're officially banned from looking at other girls. Full-on clingy girlfriend energy." Yuji laughs and says she's so cute when she's jealous. Kanan denies it, obviously, but she quickly melts under Yuji's spell. A little touch. Ah, what an incredible feeling. The little demon gremlin has been tamed. Ami watches it all from up on the school rooftop, thinking about how Beelzebub would react to finding out about Kanan and a human. But just seeing the look in Kanan's eyes was convincing enough to root for this love. Ami has her fun in her own way too. After all, the teacher got wrecked. Kanan was in full demon mode, no joke. The way she was staring at the table where her boyfriend was sitting with some other girl, you could feel the tension in the air. And from her little corner, Ami was watching everything in silence, probably hoping for absolute chaos. That encounter was about to turn into a bloodbath. Delicious. Yuji lit up the second he saw his girlfriend walk in. Dude probably thought it was fate or something. Kanan told Fate to go kick rocks because she only had one thing on her mind. Who was this girl sitting with her man? Yuji moved to introduce her, said her name was Masurao, but the girl cut him off to introduce herself as Nadeko. Nadeko, that childhood friend of Yuji's. Kanan immediately filed her under home wrecker. Nadeko was here to steal her man, simple as that. And to make it worse, Yuji and his little bestie were sitting there being all friendly in front of Kanan, like two happy nerds without a care in the world, beyond annoying. Nadeko tried to explain that the two of them had been inseparable since they were kids. Ami of course jumped right in and started digging for more details about this whole friendship. There had to be some good stories in there, right? Nadeko said it was nothing major, like they'd just play together at the park and have sleepovers. Sleepovers? The audacity. They literally slept together? Kanan had made her decision. She was going to destroy Nadeko right then and there. And Nadeko felt that dark energy immediately. Anyone would have. Kanan could spook literally any living creature. Nadeko leaned toward Yuji and whispered, "Who was this terrifying weirdo?" Yuji answered casually, "That was his girlfriend, Kanan." Everything clicked for Nadeko in an instant. That's why she was getting the death glare. Kanan had obviously taken the friendship the completely wrong way. Nadeko tried to clear the air. This friendship existed because of their parents. It was just a childhood thing. Kanan let the energy drop for a second and asked if Nadeko was trying to be slick about it. Nadeko rushed to explain herself again, but every single thing she said hit Kanan like a punch to the face. Close families, next-door neighbors, they go grocery shopping together. A date? Kanan told Nadeko to shut it, said she'd heard enough, but her rage had gone way past any normal level. Kanan started levitating like some kind of deity, grinning in the most unhinged way possible, describing in full detail exactly what she planned to do to Nadeko. This was serious. This was terrifying. Nadeko ran to Yuji for backup. The guy was completely hypnotized by Kanan's smile, mesmerized, head over heels, totally useless for any kind of rescue mission. Nadeko switched into full survival mode. She started going off about how Kanan and Yuji were the most perfect couple ever, the best, the most gorgeous. An absolute flood of compliments straight from someone who does not want to die today. Kanan wasn't buying any of it. Nadeko went back to Yuji. He was still on another planet. This was bad. Kanan was already gearing up to end Nadeko, who kept on talking, desperately trying to save her own skin. Then came Nadeko's last play. Kanan is Yuji's wife, and just like that, tamed. One word and it was over. Wild how fast that worked. Kanan walked up like she was about to compliment Nadeko's word choice, but then drew herself up with that sinister expression and called her a lowly little creature. A lowly little creature? Nadeko flinched, but Kanan was still giddy about being called a wife. What a scene. Nadeko was left with the most confused feeling. Nobody had ever called her a lowly little creature before. What even was that? That night, Ami was serving Kanan her tea, saying that whole thing earlier had been so entertaining. Oh, wait, actually the tea wasn't for Kanan. Ami told her to help herself. If it were up to Ami, that whole situation earlier would have been a full-on bloodbath. Stay tuned for next time. Kanan started venting about how inconsiderate Yuji was. Even while in a relationship, he was running around with other girls. She should have been the one having lunch with him. But Kanan caught herself and played it off, saying she was a superior demon who didn't share meals with just anyone. Still, it was bugging her. So why not grab her little brother, pull him into her lap, and use him as a stress ball? Ami started breaking down the situation. All this little dating game stuff could become a real problem for Kanan. If the goal was to devour Yuji's soul, it'd be way easier without feelings getting involved. Kanan had completely forgotten the whole point was the soul. But wait, this was actually an opportunity. If Kanan got Yuji to drop his guard, game over. Easy. Ami thought it was genius, but for it to actually work, they needed a date. Kanan got flustered immediately. No way. Did she really need to go on a date? Yes. A date was the fastest way to make someone fall for you. Plus, it's the most normal thing in the world for a couple to go out together. Ami started explaining the easiest way to ask someone out. Nom. Kanan shoved her away. She was absolutely not doing that with Yuji. Then at least just ask him to hang out. Was Kanan really going to let Yuji's little friend walk all over her like that? Ami pulled exactly the right string. Was a demon's daughter really going to lose to some basic human girl? Kanan was sold. She'd ask him tomorrow. She'd show Yuji what it meant to go out with a demon. Kanan's spellbound parents watched the whole thing from across the room and exchanged a look. When exactly did we adopt a maid? The next day, it was time for the ask. Ami was hyping her up from the sidelines. Do it without hesitating, Kanan. Kanan started off saying she had her weekend free, but when it came time to actually say what she wanted, her hands started shaking. The words wouldn't come out. The system crashed. Kanan was a nervous wreck. Nothing was happening. She bailed halfway through, tried to reset, but every time she got to the hangout together part, she froze up again. Hang out and throw hands is what actually came out. She tried again. Go out for a walk. Yuji took it his own way. She wanted to go out. walk around, and find someone to beat up, obviously. Kanan snapped, lost all patience, grabbed Yuji by the shirt and finally said, very clearly, that she was asking him out on a date. She gave him the place. She gave him the time. She let go and walked out of the room. She needed air. She'd finally asked Yuji out. Her heart was about 2 seconds from leaping out of her chest. Amy patted her on the head and told her she killed it. Finally, the date. They went to the Sky Tower, the tallest tower in all of Japan. Dude, super high up. Yuji was pumped. Kanan had her evil agenda locked in, make Yuji fall completely head over heels and hand over his soul without a fight. The plan was in motion. Yuji moved closer and said the view up there was beautiful, but that Kanan was even more beautiful. He looked her over and noticed something. No, actually, never mind. Kanan was ready to kick her terrifying plan into gear. She tried to wave Yuji over to the window. She tried to grab his hand. Crickets. She tried again. More crickets. Why was Yuji doing this? He always grabbed her hand. Oh, right. Yuji was scared of heights. Kanan just needed to give him a little push. She sidled up real close, all innocently asked what was wrong, whether maybe he was afraid of high places, and grabbed his arm. She wanted Yuji's heart racing. Except Kanan hadn't quite realized what was happening, until she pulled Yuji's arm, which sank straight into her very ample, very glorious chest. Kanan clocked it immediately. The floor disappeared from under her. Yuji asked the question. He knew it wasn't going to land well. Kanan tried to shut him up, but he didn't stop. Kanan, were you not wearing a bra? Kanan went full tomato. She'd been so nervous earlier that she'd completely forgotten to put one on. That's why Yuji kept looking away. Yuji asked if it had been on purpose. Kanan lied through her teeth. Yes, it was to get his heart racing. Demon strategy. Is your heart racing? She asked, looking absolutely done with herself. Through the roof, Yuji answered. Yuji had fallen right into Kanan's trap. The plan had been, date, no bra. Yuji even asked for another hug. Kanan was finished. There would never be a second time. Kanan had her face planted on the table while Yuji ate like everything was perfectly fine. He offered her a piece of takoyaki, told her to open up. Kanan thought it was ridiculous, embarrassing, but she caved. She braced herself, leaned in, opened her mouth. Nom. Okay, not bad, she'd admit that much. But Kanan was annoyed by the smug look on Yuji's face. Now it was her turn. She offered him a bite. And nom. Yuji got played. Kanan announced with full royal attitude that toying with lesser beings was just fun. She was not feeding Yuji. Yuji looked at her and said it made him happy to see her smiling, because she hadn't exactly been looking great before. Man, what a thing to say. Kanan couldn't look him in the eyes, and that's when it hit her. She was catching feelings. Yuji went even further, said he'd do anything to see her smile. Kanan felt something twist inside her. She was planning to devour this guy's soul, and she felt just a little bit bad about that. She let herself smile. She didn't fully understand what she was feeling, but until she figured it out, she'd leave Yuji's soul right where it was. She held up the takoyaki and asked for a do-over. Yuji got emotional. He'd been bracing for something way worse, so thank God it was just that. Kanan said it was nothing like that, and then a very long argument started. That last meetup between Kanan and Yuji was a huge source of pride for Ami, because after the first meeting comes the kiss, and after the kiss comes the most exciting part of all, getting to first base. Ami was so pumped to witness that. PE class. Kanan was all sweaty, the air thick and heavy, that suffocating heat, and Yuji shows up out of nowhere, straight up admiring Kanan in that little gym outfit. Ami watched with all that anticipation. The kiss had to happen now. Yuji was taking in every detail of Kanan, trying to get closer. But did Kanan let him? Yeah, right. Total fail for Ami. Yuji threw a whole pity party, convinced Kanan had been stringing him along this whole time, that everything had been a lie. Kanan had to admit the embarrassing reason. She smelled like sweat. That's a tough pill to swallow, because Yuji was dying to get a whiff of Kanan. He even said he'd use her dirty socks as a face mask. Kanan found that beyond disgusting. This guy has serious issues. But the hopeless dude wouldn't quit. He went full zombie mode on Kanan. The idea of taking in her unique scent was just irresistible. Yuji said he'd absolutely love that smell. Love the smell of sweat? That actually convinced Kanan. If it was that good, why not? She stood up, totally embarrassed. And Yuji finally buried his face in that little scent of hers. While Yuji was having the time of his life, Kanan's heart was going absolutely haywire. But out of nowhere, Kanan snapped back to reality. Why on earth was she letting herself be put through something this humiliating? Was Kanan the weird one here, for making Yuji kneel like that? Yuji sniffed so deep that Kanan started getting worried, especially when he described what the smell was like. Kanan smelled like fabric softener, but her smell has nothing to do with laundry products, dude. Yuji lent Kanan a towel, since she'd dropped hers. Kanan buried her face in Yuji's towel. Oh wow. The smell was so sweet. That calming scent. She could have kept her face there forever. But she snapped back to reality again. She was acting like a total weirdo. Yuji wanted to know what she thought of his towel's smell. Obviously, Kanan wasn't going to answer. She said she hadn't even smelled it, but why all the denial, huh? Ami was so disappointed. At this rate, the kiss was never going to happen. There was no other way. Ami was going to have to give things a little push. Inside the school, while Kanan was patrolling, she noticed her hearing was acting up. Super weird, since her demon hearing could reach over 100 meters. Some strange voices came from somewhere. It was Ami whispering. Sounded like temptation straight from the devil himself. Ear cleaning on your boyfriend's lap. Yuji fell headfirst into that spell. He pulled Kanan in for an ear cleaning on his lap. By his own words, he had mad skills at it. Kanan was low-key excited. It felt like a dream, especially since Yuji seemed like the perfect loyal servant. Next, he'd probably offer up his own soul. Kanan finally told him to go ahead. What a moment. It reminded her of her mom, who used to clean her ears when she was little. She missed the underworld. Yuji touched the tip of his finger to Kanan's ear. What a feeling. She got all flustered from that touch. It was like being touched in all the right places. Kanan's ears are super sensitive. Any touch from Yuji set off insane sensations in her. Yuji touched deep inside the ear. Chills! Kanan had to hold back the sounds she was making. This nerd was driving her absolutely crazy. Ami was so happy. Keep going, keep going. Yuji was loving those cute little pointed ears, feeling Kanan's shaky breathing on his thighs. She couldn't take it anymore. Felt like she was about to pass out. The audacity. Yuji kicked it up a notch. Massages and a gentle breath right into her ear. Kanan was hitting her limit, and then it was over. She held on through all of it. Yuji was genuinely skilled. Kanan said it was no big deal just to keep her cool. Oh no. Yuji was ready to put in way more effort on the other ear. Meanwhile, Nadeko was looking for Yuji, until Kanan's scream startled the heck out of her. Not that deep, Yuji. Nadeko hit the floor, traumatized. Were those two really doing that at school? Ami's plan didn't work out, but obviously she wasn't about to stop there. Later on, Ami was living her best life in a kiddie pool she'd dragged into Kanan's room. Such a vibe in that heat. Kanan was absolutely melting. The AC had broken, but there was no way she was getting in the pool with Ami. Yuji showed up at the door calling for Kanan, but Ami took the chance to show off for the guy, calling him over for some fun. Yuji is a total sucker for a maid in a bikini. Ami told Kanan to put on a bikini too, but she refused. Like she'd ever lower herself like that. Yuji dove face first into Ami's look and snapped a ton of photos. Ami started getting under Kanan's skin. She was getting all the attention from a guy who goes crazy over girls in bikinis. And Kanan caved. What a twist. Yuji and Ami were thrilled. Both of them were splashing around in the pool while Yuji was absolutely losing it over them. Kanan felt eyes on her, and not just that. She could feel Yuji undressing her with his gaze. She squeezed that creep's eyes shut. Get out of here right now. Yuji at least wanted to get one last look at Kanan's swimsuit up close. Obviously, she wasn't having it. He got the message and stood up to leave, sulking. But on his very first step, he slipped. Guess where he ended up? Face first in Kanan's swimsuit. All that embarrassment earned Yuji a massive slap across the face. Kanan lost her patience and stormed off. But on her second step, she fell. Guess where? Right on top of Yuji! The two of them face to face. Kanan was shaking from head to toe with embarrassment. Ami seized the moment to snap some pics. Why not just keep going from there? Absolutely not. Once things cooled down, Kanan and Yuji were patrolling through the school. Ami was trying to make her move. Those two needed physical contact and a kiss. She switched outfits on the spot. Time for the Gyaru student look. The plan was to let a little dog loose to run up to them and startle them. Action. The dog jumped on both of them. Yuji grabbed Kanan. Protection mode. It worked. Nope. The dog ended up biting Yuji's butt. Try again. The plan was to bump into Kanan and make her grab Yuji's arm. Ami launched herself full force at Kanan and sent her flying. It worked. Oh no. That made Kanan flash back to the braless encounter. It was a full-on trauma response. The poor girl was on the ground, sweating and shaking. Ami wasn't giving up. Knock them both out with a ball to the face? Nope. Make Yuji trip and fall face first into Kanan's backside? He got smacked. Smack something weird into Kanan's face? That didn't work either. Ami was done playing nice. Time to go heavy. She grabbed a mattress and threw it at both of them with everything she had. Now we're talking. The two all pressed together. Didn't any urges come up? Kanan wanted to know what the heck Ami was even doing there, and Yuji couldn't hold up the weight anymore. Ami pushed even harder. The two were getting closer and closer. On the last shove, their noses touched. Kanan was losing her mind. Her horns shot through the roof with all that chaos, that demonic rage. It was the end of Ami's life, but she's a succubus. She had to make sure those two had some real heat between them. Kanan calmed down. For that reason, right? Later on, in Kanan's room, she'd finally finished everything she had to do. Ami seemed a little bummed out. She asked whether Kanan had zero game at all. Her plans were so good, and still, the guy hadn't even touched her. So lame. Kanan defended herself. It was because she never gave him an opening, obviously. No guy could resist her. Ami asked to put that to the test, since that's how it was. Kanan agreed, even though she was not thrilled about it. Late in the afternoon, Yuji showed up calling her to head home together. She pretended to be asleep. Yuji came closer, feeling bad about how tired she looked. That little face of Kanan's made him think about how adorable she was. Was he starting to cave? Kanan let out a tiny smile, seeing Yuji about to give in. He'd never be able to resist her like this. Yuji ripped his shirt buttons off real quick. Here we go, going all in. Yeah, right. It was to cover Kanan up with it. What a gentleman, for real. But Kanan didn't want him to resist. How about making things a little more tempting? Yuji almost fell for Kanan's assets, but used every ounce of willpower to keep doing his workout. Kanan turned up the heat even more. Yuji flat out refused to give in to temptation. Kanan threw pose after pose after pose. Yuji couldn't even work out anymore. His desires were winning. Kanan got all sad. She'd tried everything and Yuji still hadn't touched her. Maybe she really had no game. She couldn't even manipulate a high school boy. She felt like a pathetic excuse for a demon. Yuji couldn't hold back. He touched Kanan's little face, but bolted immediately after. Harassment. Nadeko was just minding her business until she saw that creep running around shirtless. Trauma. Ami walked into Kanan's room, disappointed. Was something off with Kanan? Nope. She was absolutely giddy over Yuji's touch. Unbelievable. Maybe a kiss next time. Just another regular day in Yuji's class, or so they thought. Class kicks off with the introduction of a new student, and the moment she walked in, you could already tell this girl was unlike anything they'd ever seen. She was dressed like an actual saint. Literally. Her name is Jean, but before she even gets to introduce herself to the class, Jean spots Yuji, and her eyes just light up, dude. Like she's staring at an actual angel. She ignores everyone, walks straight across the room in a beeline, and heads right for him, saying she had finally found him. She trips, hits the floor, but jumps right back up and grabs Yuji's hand with everything she's got, telling him everything would be okay, that she was going to protect him. Protect Yuji from what exactly? From a demon, obviously. Yuji just stood there, completely dumbfounded, not knowing what to say. But what was really catching his attention was the saint's underwear. Yuji takes John to the nurse's office and asks the doctor to check out this crazy girl who wouldn't stop rambling about demons. But John can't stay still for even a second. She stands up and explains everything with dead serious energy. She's a divine messenger from the heavens. Yuji's soul is pure, and because of that, he has the potential to become a saint. But that soul is in danger, because a demon wants it. So Jean came down personally to protect him. The doctor takes a drag from her cigarette, looks at him with the most unbothered expression imaginable, and says she totally gets it. There's a demon after Yuji, and he needs to listen to Jean. Except the note she quietly slips him says Jean is completely out of her mind, and that if he just plays along with the weirdo, she'll be out of his hair in no time. Then Jean announces she's going to perform an incantation to drive away demons. All she needed was a little holy water. Oh, but they were fresh out of holy water. No problem. The saint has a solution. She climbs on top of Yuji and starts preparing the saliva she'd use on him. The heavens had requested this, okay? The saliva was inches from touching him. Yuji was in full panic mode. And the doctor? The doctor simply gave the couple some space and slipped right out. In sheer desperation, Yuji yells that he was not converting. That completely stops Jean in her tracks. Kanan, who was passing by in the hallway, heard the saint's whole scene and opened the infirmary door to see what was going on. And she saw absolute chaos in front of her very eyes. Hooking up inside school? She yanks the curtain open to find out which two idiots were responsible and nearly has a heart attack. Yuji was cheating? She was about to lose it. But then the saint passes out right in Yuji's lap, and he throws himself at Kanan, burying his face in her with tears streaming down. He's the victim here, come on. Kanan gets it and just wants to know who this knocked out weirdo is. The doctor peeks in and reveals the reason for the fainting spell. She was starving. They whipped together a meal for John, who was seriously hungry. Kanan was still shooting daggers at her with her eyes, but she could feel some kind of divine energy coming off the girl and started wondering if she might actually be an angel. And then it hit her. Wait, had the angels found them out? Jean, now with a full stomach, thanks Kanan for the food and calls her an angel. Okay, so they hadn't been found out. Kanan cuts straight to it. Who are you and why are you after Yuji? The girl stands up with all the holy dignity she can muster and introduces herself, says her name is Jean, and that she was sent by the angels to protect Yuji's soul from a demon. Kanan nearly short circuits. The divine beings had found them. Yuji butts in and says he doesn't get how someone from heaven can cosplay a saint without wings or a halo. Says those details are pretty much essential for a quality cosplay. The saint has absolutely no idea what cosplay is, but assures them she's not an angel. The proof that she came down from the heavens is a divine mark, except the mark is below her belly button. So she lifts her skirt to show them. So innocent, she doesn't even realize flashing her underwear at strangers is kind of a problem. Kanan shuts that down immediately, says she doesn't need to show anybody anything. Yuji shows up just to snap some pics of the iconic moment, and still thinks both Jean and Kanan are in cosplay. Is this dude ever going to get it? Jean wraps Yuji in a full-on divine hug, promising to protect him with her overflowing love. Kanan yanks Yuji by the hair and calls Jean a perv. The saint is absolutely floored. A perv? She doesn't even know what that means. Kanan makes it crystal clear. Yuji belongs to her, and she's not handing him over to anyone. The guy gets all emotional while Kanan tries to backpedal. Jean interprets the whole thing in the most innocent way possible, concludes that Kanan is in love with Yuji, and asks the Lord to bless the couple. Kanan ignores the whole circus and asks if Jean knows what the demon looks like. She says yes, and even pulls out a photo. Jean studies it closely, and it hits her. Kanan is the demon! She throws herself onto Yuji in a panic, saying she won't let Kanan seduce him. Kanan calls Jean a perv. She's the one who was seducing Yuji. She yanks Yuji away from the saint's grip, and the whole thing was honestly too much even for him. Furious, Kanan calls Jean the demon. That absolutely destroys the saint. That was a massive insult to throw at a divine being. The two of them fight over Yuji while he's secretly feeling like the biggest catch in the world. The dude tries to settle it diplomatically, says they could all just hang out together. Jean gives him another divine hug, says everything is fine because she has love in abundance, and takes off pulling Yuji by the hand like she's running a 100-meter dash. Seeing their hands locked together sets Kanan on fire. She had never held hands with Yuji before, and this crazy little saint just ripped that moment away from her. Kanan takes off after them, absolutely fuming, going full sprint, until she realizes Jean had stopped dead in her tracks behind her, struggling with something. The girl had gotten stuck. Her outfit had snagged on a branch. Kanan even goes back to help her out, but Jean refuses to give in and starts pulling with everything she's got. With her precious outfit about to rip, she finally breaks free and just collapses on the ground, completely wiped out. Says she'll let it slide this time, and slowly drags herself off somewhere. The next day, Kanan was already gearing up to deal with the saint once and for all. Everything in place, weapons, barricade, and Yuji as bait. She was going to get payback on Jean for stealing the first time she'd ever held someone special's hand. Ami shows up all hyped, saying she was shocked the angels had actually noticed them there, and that she was joining the fight. Time kept passing, and nothing. Total snooze fest. Only Kanan was still holding her post. Then the intercom announced the end of the school day and asked everyone to clear out. The saint never showed. Kanan gets annoyed and goes looking for Jean herself. She tracks down the address and heads over. It was a cardboard box house. The saint was broke, huh? The two of them walk up and peek inside. There was an old man inside confessing his sins to Jean. She tells him he's welcome in the kingdom of heaven. And as thanks, the old man leaves food for the saint. Kanan and Ami step inside, startling Jean. Kanan wants to know why she ditched her post watching over Yuji. Jean explains she was guiding a lost soul when, out of nowhere, a whole crowd showed up wanting to convert. Some guys pick a fight with Kanan for cutting in line, and then randomly burst into tears, saying Jean had saved them. In reality, it was that totally unhinged figure of hers turning heads for all the wrong reasons. You know what I mean. That freaks Kanan out, and she starts sending each of them packing. Jean gets sad. Those guys' offerings were literally how she was eating. Kanan actually feels a little bad, and just tells the saint to go back to heaven, but she can't. She can only go back once the mission is complete. Paradise is amazing. Perfect weather all the time, food whenever you want it, and the angels are gorgeous. But until she protects Yuji's soul from a demon, she's not going anywhere. Kanan says she's not going to devour his soul, at least not right now. The saint asks why. Kanan can't bring herself to say the truth and just gets more and more flustered. Ami steps in and blows up her whole spot. Says what Kanan really wants is to do something dirty with him. Kanan denies it with everything she has. Jean asks what something dirty is. Is it a demonic ritual? The saint starts inching toward Kanan and asking questions. Kanan, completely mortified, explains that it involves like touching someone's body. Jean wants to know how. With your lips, Kanan says. The saint wants to know how. It's, Kanan says, kissing. The pressure keeps building. Kanan beat red, practically losing her mind from embarrassment. Then Amy decides to step into the role of teacher. She breaks it down for the saint like it's mating. Jean almost gets it. She knows dogs and horses mate to have babies, but she doesn't understand why Kanan would do that. So Amy gives her a full-on lesson, even pulls up some videos. Jean is shaking, completely traumatized. She thought babies came from the stork. The saint walks out of the cardboard house, kneels under the open sky, and lets the tears fall. Nobody knows exactly what was going through her head, but that moment marked, without a doubt, the end of her innocence. The next day, Jean was sitting on a little bench, still processing the trauma. Yuji was confused. Kanan, on the other hand, couldn't care less about any of that. She only wanted one thing. She worked up the courage, reached out and took Yuji's hand, and asked him to walk home together. And just like that, the two of them headed off, hand in hand, while the saint stared somewhere out at the horizon, searching somehow for just a little bit of the innocence she had lost. Yuji and Kanan were casually walking to school. When Jean showed up out of nowhere screaming Yuji's name, Kanan was already not feeling this annoying saint just popping up like that, you know? But wait, what's up with that uniform Jean switched to? Okay, fair enough. School requires uniforms. The problem is that this uniform was a sailor outfit, completely random and nothing like their school's dress code. Yuji was stunned, thought Jean looked way too cute in it. But Kanan completely lost it. Like, Yuji seriously got swept up over a uniform? Of course, Kanan was already cooking up some payback. She was going to use every last bit of her demonic cruelty to make him pay. Kanan was already in her room, fully ready to go scorched earth. But here's the catch. The moment Yuji saw her like that, she knew she'd die of embarrassment. She didn't even have time to mentally prepare. Yuji barged into her room without even knocking. He clocked her outfit instantly, and it completely messed with his head. He was absolutely starving for Kanan. But all that craziness got cut short by Jean, calling out for Yuji just outside. The second Kanan realized that, she panicked. The last thing she needed was the saint thinking she was being petty and jealous. At that point, the only move was to hide. Nadeko and Jean walk into the room and don't see anyone, but Jean's nose was telling a whole different story, dude. She could literally smell Yuji. He and Kanan were squeezed together inside the closet. Yuji was getting more and more worked up, feeling Kanan pressed right up against him, especially with that cute outfit she had on. Jean kept creeping closer and closer to her target, so she decided to check the closet, since that's where Yuji's scent was coming from. Right as Jean finally opened the closet door, she got distracted by some snack Nadeko found on the floor. What a relief, seriously. The two of them could finally breathe again. But then, Yuji wanted to know why Kanan was wearing that outfit in the first place. She explained that it'd be mortifying if anyone else saw her in it, but that she dressed up like that just for Yuji, because she thought he'd like it. Like it was an understatement. Yuji thought it was adorable, like the cutest thing ever. Kanan started freaking out as things got more and more intense inside that tiny closet. Yuji kept inching closer with his lips, and she was basically losing her mind. Until Kanan finally couldn't take it anymore. The two of them tumbled out of the closet in a super suspicious position. The saint immediately assumed they were trying to make a baby. Ami and the teacher were hyped about it. What a total disaster, bro. The next day, Kanan had her face buried in her pillow, trying to work up the nerve to look Yuji in the eye after all that mess. When she finally left the house, he was right there, calling out to her so they could walk to school together. On the subway, it was so packed that Kanan and Yuji had no choice but to stand super close again. The train swayed and the two of them almost kissed. Kanan couldn't even understand her own fear of kissing him. After all, they were dating. This stuff was supposed to feel normal. Yuji picked up on how uncomfortable she was, so he invited her to ditch class. The two of them headed to the beach. That was everything for Kanan. It was her first time ever at a beach, feeling the freezing cold ocean water for the very first time in her life, until she stopped and thought about it. Could she really still call herself a model student after skipping class like this? But then Kanan started wondering what Yuji's actual reason was for bringing her to the beach. He said he just wanted to make a memory with his girlfriend, but that only made Kanan more paranoid. Just the two of them at the beach. No interruptions, open ocean all around. Yuji definitely had something sneaky planned. He wanted to finish that almost kiss from before. Then he called Kanan over to sit next to him, but obviously he wasn't about to let her sit on the dirty ground. So Yuji scooped her up like a princess and held her in his lap. She saw pure perfection in Yuji right then. A meaningful kiss at an amazing spot, in the kind of position every girl dreams about. How is anyone supposed to resist a guy like that? Yuji held her tighter, telling her to get ready, but Kanan's heart was anything but ready. Yuji finally did what he'd been planning. He wanted to take a photo with his beloved girlfriend, obviously. Kanan ended up pouting in the picture. Of course, she was expecting a kiss. She was so disappointed, had built up all this romance in her head just for it to end as a photo op. She had her demonic rage fully activated until out of nowhere, a massive wave knocked them both flat. They got tossed right onto the sand, but both of them were cracking up laughing. Meanwhile, Ami was out there searching for Kanan from the top of a utility pole until she spotted the saint sniffing out Yuji's trail. Jean was convinced Kanan had possessed Yuji into ditching class, but she ended up walking straight into a trap. Ami had her right where she wanted her, sent the saint to lead her straight to Kanan. But Jean doesn't take orders from demons, so she wasn't getting any Pocky out of this deal. Ami came in with an even stronger temptation. Jean barely held on. Don't cave. But then Ami went full psychological warfare and was about to eat the Pocky right in front of her. Jean surrendered to the demon's temptation. Kanan and Yuji were tucked away in a little private room. Yuji had bought them both new outfits to change into. They were in the middle of unbuttoning their clothes when Kanan asked Yuji not to look while she was getting undressed. Yuji put on his best innocent face. You'd never guess he was already plotting to sneak a peek at Kanan's figure. He told her she had nothing to worry about because he was a gentleman and would never spy on a lady. Trust him, right, Kanan? How naive. Well, anyway, the saint actually managed to track down where those two were hiding. Ami was confused. The two of them were at an internet cafe. Jean didn't even know what the internet was, but Ami was absolutely sure Kanan and Yuji were in there having a very private moment. The saint wasn't having any of it. She could not let that happen. Kanan was taking off her clothes when she suddenly had a reality check about the fact that she was changing in front of Yuji. Even with him blindfolded, she ended up getting shy. But Kanan trusted the process. Yuji was well blindfolded and would never dare peek without permission. He was going absolutely insane, able to picture everything Kanan was doing just from the sounds. When she took off her bra and underwear, Yuji was holding himself together by a thread, desperately wanting to see Kanan with nothing on. But then, out of nowhere, she asked Yuji to take off the blindfold and look at her. Since that's obviously what he wanted to see, Yuji nearly jumped out of his skin. Kanan just wanted to know what the heck kind of outfit he had even bought her. This pervy gentleman? Jean was digging into an ice cream, completely focused on eating as always. Meanwhile, the two of them slipped right past both girls unnoticed from behind. Ami went to one of the rooms, hoping to catch Yuji and Kanan doing something spicy, but she was too late. Gina was completely mesmerized by a computer and started praying to it, asking it for food. And Ami, total disaster that she is, absolutely refused to give up on Kanan. Yuji and Kanan were out wandering around when they passed by a Ferris wheel. Kanan had never seen one before. They don't exactly have those down in the underworld. Yuji asked Kanan if she wanted to try it out. Kanan tried to play it cool, saying she wasn't some little kid who needed to ride carnival attractions, but if Yuji really wanted to go that badly, she couldn't exactly say no. Up at the top, already on the Ferris wheel, Kanan took in the city view, completely blown away. This was genuinely so cool, until Kanan sat back and asked Yuji why he'd wanted to ditch class with her in the first place. Yuji started to say he wanted to do something with Kanan, but he got embarrassed and couldn't quite finish the word that starts with Som. Kanan's jaw dropped. So Yuji really did want to do that, but then he said he just wanted to celebrate being young. She had genuinely thought Yuji was talking about making babies. Ditching class with someone you like is literally every high schooler's dream. And on top of that, Kanan had been so uncomfortable on the train. She felt genuinely touched by the romance of it all, even without fully understanding the feeling yet. She told Yuji he'd totally nailed it because she'd had the time of her life. She reached out her hand to him, asking for more of this. Spending time with Yuji was something Kanan really truly loved. That made Yuji so happy he started bouncing around. He shook the cabin so hard Kanan ended up falling right on top of him. That left Kanan completely mortified, until she noticed a suspicious presence in the cabin behind them. It was Ami cheering them on for the spicy stuff, and the saint, begging them to stop being inappropriate. Kanan could barely believe those two had actually managed to find them, but whatever. She was so exhausted she asked to borrow Yuji's shoulder, taking in the view, side by side. Nadeko and Yuji were in Kanan's room, begging her to help them study. Because, let's be real, those two wouldn't pass the semester even if they cheated on absolutely everything. Kanan shut it down immediately. Figure it out yourselves. But Nadeko kept pushing, said Kanan was the only one who could save her grades, the smartest girl in the entire school. Then Yuji took it way too far, dude. He threw himself on the floor and grabbed onto Kanan's skirt, begging not to spend the whole summer in remedial classes like a total loser. And that's when something shifted, because suddenly, she wasn't just Kanan anymore. She was the teacher. Nadeko and Yuji started calling her teacher. Repeating it so many times, it slowly started messing with her head. There was no going back. Kanan was already in character, fully suited up and ready to educate these two hopeless little disasters. But meanwhile, Nadeko got lost in her own thoughts. Ever since the day she met Kanan, she couldn't stop thinking about her. It was a different kind of feeling, like weird, but in a good way. Did Nadeko actually have a crush on Kanan? Anyway, the students got ready to learn. And Yuji? A complete disaster at math. Such a lost cause that Kanan straight up humiliated him on the very first problem. And honestly, Nadeko loved every second of it. She said she needed help with math too, so Kanan agreed to tutor them both. First, she asked Yuji to solve a problem. The nerd didn't even know where to start, and to Kanan that was just pure stupidity. Then Nadeko asked Kanan to check her homework. It was completely perfect. Kanan praised her, said she expected nothing less. And that compliment, man, it hit Nadeko in a way she totally didn't see coming. Like pure happiness just overflowing inside her. But even so, she felt unsatisfied. Because Kanan was helping Yuji with straight-up contempt, completely losing her patience over that avalanche of wrong answers. So Nadeko got an idea. What if she made the same mistakes? Would Kanan treat her badly too? She tested it. But Kanan saw the errors and explained with all the warmth in the world that she just needed to slow down and take her time, and she'd get it. So sweet. Nadeko made a face. Back to Yuji. He couldn't get anything right. Kanan kept telling him he was a useless bug who didn't have a single working brain cell. Watching that, Nadeko tried making the same mistakes, and Kanan just rolled with it. Totally chill. That's just how learning works, right? Yuji couldn't take it anymore and started running his mouth, even throwing in some dirty jokes, and Kanan shut him down immediately. Nadeko tried the same kind of inappropriate comments to see if Kanan would snap at her too. But nope, she was treated like a little angel. Again, that's when Nadeko completely broke down in tears. Kanan had been roasting Yuji this whole time, and all Nadeko wanted was for Kanan to treat her the same way. The truth? Nadeko was a total freak who was into being treated badly. That night, Kanan was back home enjoying a nice relaxing shower. Meanwhile, her fake mom picked up a phone call, a very unusual one. A deep, masculine voice was asking for Kanan, said he was her father. It was Beelzebub, and a woman's voice could be heard grumbling in the background, while the fake mom just tried to figure out what on earth was going on. Then the woman on the phone said she was Kanan's mother, and thanked the fake mom for taking such good care of her precious daughter. Total shock. The fake mom went to have a little talk with Kanan, told her she'd just spoken to her mom and dad on the phone. Kanan tried to explain, to soften the blow somehow, but the fake mom had already jumped to her own conclusion. Those people on the phone were a sugar daddy and a sugar mommy. Lucky girl. That was way too far. At school, Yuji celebrated with everything he had because he passed. Finally, a proper summer break. Beach, festivals, total freedom, all thanks to Kanan. But she was not happy about it at all. She wanted Yuji on a leash. Ami had to explain to him that Kanan wasn't going to be able to see him during summer break, and that she was going to miss him. Kanan denied everything, said it had nothing to do with that. She was just scared of Yuji running around unsupervised doing who knows what. Oh, so he should do those things with Kanan instead, right? She refused. But honestly, all Yuji wanted was to spend summer break by her side. That would actually be kinda nice, but unfortunately, it wasn't gonna happen. Kanan would have to go back to the underworld for the break. At that, Yuji offered to go with her. Thinking about it, that could actually work. Ami felt the need to remind everyone that any human who set foot in the underworld would get torn apart by demons. Then Kanan explained to Yuji that her family was of the highest nobility, and a lowly little human like him could never set foot there. But if he wanted it that badly, Kanan could figure something out. Yuji could barely wait to see the underworld. Ami asked if Kanan actually had the power to bring humans to the underworld, and that made Kanan start to sweat. It was the first time she'd ever invited someone to her place. She'd have to make sure her room was clean, prep some snacks. But honestly, Kanan didn't care one bit about Beelzebub's reaction. Ami couldn't hide how emotional she got over that love story playing out right in front of her. And then, everyone headed to the mall. New swimsuits were absolutely non-negotiable. Jean was there too, already worried about food. Classic her. But anyway, the underworld had a lake, which meant bikinis. Jean agreed that spending the day at the lake sounded super fun. Suddenly, Kanan told everyone to stop. She just wanted to know what the heck Jean was doing there with them. Obviously, she was there to protect Yuji. She'd follow him to the ends of the earth. Kanan couldn't care less. That's when Nadeko showed up, and Kanan without missing a beat. Oh, it's Nadeko, the little lowlife. Being called a lowlife was absolute heaven for Nadeko. She went completely weak in the knees right then and there. Kanan wanted absolutely nothing to do with any of that nonsense. Inside the swimsuit store, Ami had a genius idea. All the girls were going to try on bikinis and show off how they looked. Kanan thought it was completely inappropriate, immediately thinking about Yuji. Jean asked if she was embarrassed. But of course, Kanan wasn't embarrassed at all. Anyway, time to pick something out and get changed. Kanan stood there staring at the bikinis, wondering which one Yuji would like, then completely froze when she caught herself thinking that. But then she looked to the side and spotted the perfect one. Adorable. Ami was looking for something bold. She really wanted to see people's reactions. Something sexy, obviously. Nadeko didn't really have the guts to wear a bikini in front of people, especially in front of Kanan. The big reveal finally came. Ami went first. A sexy bikini that looked absolutely perfect on her. Yuji loved it. Then came Nadeko in a super daring bikini, and a collar to be pulled around like Kanan's little pet. Traumatizing to see your childhood friend like that. Then Jean. She had on the most bizarre outfit. Was it supposed to be a little piggy? The store lady showed up explaining that Jean had requested a custom outfit, but when it came time to take measurements for her massive frame, the lady got so annoyed she ended up making a bikini out of deli ham packaging. Demonic rage in human form. Finally, Kanan's turn. She was a nervous wreck, absolutely refusing to come out of the dressing room. Everyone else had picked sexy bikinis. What would they think when they saw what she chose? Everyone was buzzing with anticipation over what the little demoness had picked. Ami just yanked the curtain open. A one-piece. Adorable, to an almost criminal degree. Yuji thought it was the cutest thing ever. Kanan was definitely the winner, the most adorable one of all. Late at night, 3:33 in the morning, everyone was at the Interworld station, the demon rail that goes straight to the underworld, a private train that belonged to Kanan's family. Everyone was already boarding. The train took off. Outside the windows, a gorgeous transition into another world. Inside the car, something completely unexpected was about to go down. Kanan felt the urge to use the bathroom, but it was way too embarrassing to say that in front of Yuji. Jean noticed Kanan looked agonized and figured she was planning something with Yuji, so she couldn't leave her side. Except Jean was also absolutely desperate to go. Ami noticed both of them were holding it in. She needed to go too, but there was no way she was missing this comedy gold. Jean stood up to go relieve herself, but Kanan stopped her, provoked her by saying it was dangerous to take her eyes off her when she was sitting this close to Yuji. The holy warrior had to sit right back down. Now, Kanan was finally going to the bathroom, but Yuji ruined everything by asking where she was going. She made up an excuse, said she just needed to grab her bag, and Yuji went to get it for her. Kanan sat back down on the seat, feeling like it was about to be a disaster at any second. Yuji put her bag right on top of her, made everything 10 times worse. Ami was losing it over how funny this was, but she could just go to the bathroom herself. Except no, because Kanan wasn't letting that happen either. Ami took a kick to the leg hard enough to fracture it. All three of them were in agony, completely past the point of no return. Yuji noticed everyone seemed restless and decided to step up. He offered freshly brewed coffee, made by his own hands. Unfortunately, coffee is a diuretic. Their bladders were about to explode, but Kanan just couldn't turn down that adorable smile of his. She downed the whole cup in one go. The coffee was so good that Kanan could practically feel its entire origin story. The flavor so soothing that even her urinary system started to calm down. Yuji was so happy she liked it. He was genuinely emotional, finally understanding people who meal prep for the ones they care about. Kanan was at her absolute limit. Jean gave in to the temptation of the coffee. Ami was suffering with a broken leg. Then Kanan called out to Yuji, like she was saying goodbye. She'd hit the end of the road. She just needed to know if he'd be by her side no matter what happened. Of course, for her he'd do anything. And then, Yuji simply stood up and walked to the bathroom. The rage that exploded between the girls was instant. All three shot to their feet for battle. Ami was the first one down. Kanan charged forward, and Jean made her return to paradise. Meanwhile, in the underworld, Kanan's younger sisters, Milch and Miel, were chatting excitedly about their big sister coming home with an alleged boyfriend.